Well, some Paul Simon, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, which I have to say were not outlined in this song. Not that I need 50 ways, but there were 5 ways that were repeated. So if you count them each individually as the repeat as a new way, there were only 20 ways to leave your lover in this song.
Paul Simon's great. I loved this song since I was young. First time I heard it, it was probably the first time I really was like in love with the drum performance.
Right.
And I heard it and I was like, oh wow, that's so cool.
Really great.
Yeah.
And notably missing from our shout out this week.
Yeah, yes. My favorite part of the song is missing because we just did it.
I heard it in my head though while you were playing.
Yeah. Every time I hear it, you can't not hear it.
Yeah.
I challenge you to go back and listen to the song again and see if you were actually making the drum part up in your head.
Yeah, I listened to it in my head.
So, Paul Simon, I love him very much.
Oh, yeah.
I got a bunch of his albums, always listen to his music.
I liked this song when I was a kid, too, but I had no grasp of the meaning of it. Like, no
What other Paul Simon songs you like?
Just name one. Yeah. Yeah, even the ones I go, wonder what he meant there. Yeah.
Yeah, I like everything from the Simon and Garfunkel, like The Bridge Over Troubled Water.
I think he has an excellent voice. I think he has excellent songmanship. I don't know if that's even a word, but the combined everything of the musicality, the melody, the lyrics, the whole thing from the beginning to the end. I think he's just a really good music person. Yeah. He's just got it all together. He's the whole thing. So, yeah, I'm a big fan.
Weirdly enough, when I first listened to Paul Simon, and I used to equate him a lot with James Taylor in their singing styles.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
And oddly, I never associated them at a young age. I never associated them as great singers. But as I got older, I really did start to appreciate their vocals and their vocal quality.
What is Paul Simon's main instrument? Does he have an instrument
guitar.
that he plays? His guitar?
He plays acoustic.
Okay.
And I think he plays a little piano. I'm not sure. But it was like I was in love with his music at a young age. Like Loves Me Like a Rock, Mother and Child Reunion, Kodachrome was one of my favorites.
It's a great song.
And this song, of course, and then Bridge Over Troubled Water, The Boxer, all that stuff I was really in love with. And there was only a couple of years after I moved out of my house. Of course, I think my parents listened to a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there was only a couple of years before it's kind of like I fell in love with them all over again when Graceland came out. And maybe
love that album.
That actually might have been when I was still living at home, but I didn't really find it and fall in love with that album until I was probably in my early 20s. And of course, You Can Call Me Al was all over MTV. And
loved that.
It was Still Crazy After All These Years was a great song. And Graceland, of course.
Wasn't that the name of the album that this was on?
No, this album was much earlier than Graceland.
No, not Graceland. Still Crazy After All These Years.
It might have been on that album.
Wasn't that on... I know it was released in 75, yeah. I don't know the whole... Because he's such a prolific writer. I might have
misnamed a song from the album.
He's such a prolific writer, so I don't know how his timeline was. I do know, though, this was sort of his tongue-in-cheek answer to his divorce that happened, which, divorce is... It's sad. There's a lot of... you go in wanting life with somebody, and then divorce happens, whether you have initiated it and made the realization that this is in fact not your person, or the other person has informed you that you are not their person. It's you had an expectation that wasn't seen through. It's sad on a lot of levels, even if it's better for the people involved in the end. So to have sort of a humorous response to it, I have to believe that it was almost amicable. And I wonder if the she that is outlined in the song was indeed his wife.
Maybe.
Because I got thinking about it, because It was kind of like I had always told. We talk about telling ourselves the stories. I'd always thought that perhaps he was just sitting at a bar and this lady kind of sidled up to him and was like, "Hey, it seems like you're down. What's going on?" He's like, "Ma, I'm having troubles." And she's like, "Oh, that's sad. You know, there's a bunch of ways to end that." And that's why she said all the names, because she didn't know his name.
Right.
Was always the story that I told myself. But you think about it on a little bit more intimate level. If they're just hanging out and she notices you're not happy in this, you know, there's a lot of ways to end this. Let's sleep on it, and we'll, you know, and still kisses him. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an intimate kiss, but like a kiss on the cheek and I'm going up to bed, you know? So it could be a completely different story in which she is going, this isn't working for me either. Let's figure out how to jump off the ride.
Interesting. You know, I never really thought about it as like a completely serious song, honestly. I do like the idea, like I guess I fall more towards the second line of thinking, the way I thought of it, just because, you know, like the line, the problems are all inside your head, she said to me. Like, you're making
it seems like bigger,
you're making it bigger than it needs to be. It seems like it's kind of like they knew each other, and she was just like, it's a lot, you know, this isn't working for me either.
Yeah.
Like, just,
well, also, let me just say, what a profound and perfectly put statement. The problem is all inside your head. And aren't they all? Aren't all the problems, but equally, all of the other things are inside of our heads. So, like, our joy, it's also inside of our heads. We have that capability to shift into a joyful response rather than a disastrous response.
Yeah. What's sad is that, like, the problems are mostly inside of our head, and that we bring them outward and affect other people with them a lot of times.
We do.
And that's not the greatest, but it's hard to manage that because it feels
bigger.
The problems in your head always feel bigger than they actually are. Like, once you kind of
it seems like problems, it's never you dip your toe in a problem. You jump in and all of a sudden you're neck deep in the problem. And so then the problem feels really encompassing because you're trying to figure out the solution to the problem. So while you're neck deep, it's hard to deal with, rather than just like if you have waded in a little bit and then kind of back off of it and assess it from maybe a different viewpoint.
Right.
But that's hard to do when you've already jumped in neck deep to get back out.
Right.
And reassess. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Oh, the human condition.
Yeah. So jumping back to the performance of the song, I really enjoyed learning the chords and the voicings that Paul Simon played on acoustic guitar, and there's also an electric guitar that plays different voicings of the same chords. You know, and depending on what you're listening on, they may even be a little more obvious, but I think because they're higher up the register, so they're kind of a little more in the forefront, but I think that the acoustic chords fill it out really nicely that Paul chose, you know, and I don't think you can get any better than Steve Gadd's drum line. He was, you know, back to his, not only was that performance, this is one of the few drum performances that actually made me look up the drummer, you know what I mean? And it was before, I was pretty young, you know, so it was basically this track was how I became acquainted with Steve Gadd, who is a lot of drummers' main influence, you know, especially a lot of drummers in the late 80s, early 90s, and beyond, because, I mean, you can hear the creativity and the pocket and the energy that he brings to the song, you know?
Yeah.
It's really impressive. I don't know if it was an idea, I'd have to read up on it, if it was an idea that he had, or if Paul Simon wanted something in particular.
That Paul said he wanted to build the song around the drum line because he wanted the song to be mostly uncluttered, given his quote. So he evidently that was his first. That is an uncluttered song.
But I wonder who brought the drum line. If he brought her,
well,
probably Steve Gadd. Even if he's not, you know, it's you know, drummers are pretty incredible. I think that you can have a great drummer in a not great band, but you can't have a great band without a great drummer.
Mm.
You know?
Okay.
I think. You know, and Steve Gadd is definitely a great drummer, and he was a guy that lent his skills to many recordings as well, you know, and I actually had the opportunity to see him live one time with Eric Clapton.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought he was pretty impressive, even in the mid-90s, you know, early 90s, and I just always followed him a little bit, like, oh, and, you know, now I've kind of strayed from it, so I don't have all the knowledge at the top of my index, you know, because I used to be like, oh, he played on this track.
Yeah.
He played on this
Yeah.
track. He played on this track.
That's stuff that I find interesting in the moment and go, oh, wow, that's really cool. I'm glad. And I think of the friendships that were formed between the musicians and making music. Oh, that's cool that they're friends. And I wonder, you know, what if they had something in common, like where they like to eat, the type of food they like to eat, or perhaps a drink that they enjoyed together, or maybe their spouses enjoyed hanging out while they were in a session or something. Like, I wonder the behind the scenes bits of that.
Drummers are interesting because the best ones are, you know, I think that we tend to think of, a lot of times musicians tend to think of the drummers as kind of like, well, there's all these drum jokes for a reason, you know, because we kind of think of them as the lowest denominator in the band sometimes.
They're not. No.
But I think the really great ones are sometimes the best musicians in the band. You know, they understand like a lot of musical theory. They understand what's going on within the band, how to accentuate it, what's coming. They're well prepared.
I feel like the poor drummer gets the least. I mean, they do so much work. They set up so much gear. They tote around so much gear, the heaviest gear by far. And then they set up, and then every time there's a photo opportunity, they're behind a cymbal or a singer.
Sure.
You get their hands and their sticks all the time, but their faces are rarely captured unless you have a photographer that is specifically going for the drummer and is on the stage with them. So I try to be really cognizant.
Let's show some drummer appreciation.
Yeah.
Let's why don't everybody leave their favorite drummer in the comments this week?
Yeah.
And let us know who to check out. I'll say a couple of mine.
Eka Pikello. He's our drummer for our band.
Yeah, going back for me, probably the first was John Bonham, then Steve Gadd, and then later on people like Bernard Purdy and Kenny Aronoff. It was probably one of the more modern day drummers that I liked, you know, and I think that like they all have unique perspectives. Like the drummer for Fish, John Fishman, you know, and I'll just end up with this, and then you can add whatever you want to. But John Fishman, I always thought he was a really good drummer and very unique, you know. And I was like, man, he comes up with so many cool beats. And one of the things that he actually said in an interview in his early days was that for Fish, he never wanted to play the same beat twice.
Right, yeah.
So like he never wanted it on a record, on a record, you know. So I thought that was a really great way to like make every song sound a little different.
That's a huge undertaking because they're prolific writers too. Yeah.
Here's their shout out with no drums. Going out to the drummers out there.
Yeah, drummers. Well, I also enjoy, I find that the bands that I very much enjoy, they usually have two drummers or a drummer and a percussionist. And I think that is a completely different skill set to be able to not just drive the bus, but co-drive the bus musically. So to be able to lock in not just with your bassist and other instrumentalist, but with a completely separate drummer who's introducing different beat ideas
so and you're talking
interweaving.
Like Grateful Dead, Allman Brothers, Little Feat, just to name a few.
So
Santana.
Trucks, Santana. Super Santana. And also getting into back, kind of looping around for a couple weeks ago, Rusted Root with all their percussion.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Like they're, it really moves me in a different way when somebody is able to play kit and they pull off to play the hand drums even while they're playing kit sometimes.
Sure.
And you know what? Okay, let's give a shout out to the Wood Brothers drummer. What's his name?
Jano Ricks.
Thank you. This man was playing a full-on keyboard solo while playing the drum kit.
live. Yeah, it was
Amazing, amazing, and it's not just a gimmicky thing either. He was filling out the sound and serving the song, which I so appreciated, because he wasn't like, hey, look at me, I'm doing all the things. It was in service to the song, and really just had us going, where's that coming from? What is happening right now? Cool. It was really cool.
For sure.
So yeah, check out our drummer, Acapello. We do have some live videos out. Are they on the YouTube channel too?
I think we got some on there.
We'll see if we can't link something. But
got some stuff.
Definitely go check out our website if you haven't already at sugarlimeblue.com. We've got our tour schedule on there.
Yeah.
And at the request of one of our friends, Richard, he said I should definitely be telling you guys about where we're touring at. So in an effort to keep our chats kind of timeless, go to sugarlimeblue.com and check out the tours, or I think it might be titled shows, to see when and where we're playing, and hopefully we can get out to your area. And if there's a venue out in your area,
drop links.
Let us know.
Sure. We're getting ready to start doing some booking again, I think, and we're looking forward to
or festivals that you think we would fit into. We do have the full band, so I know on our shout outs it's our acoustic offering. So if you're new to us, understand that we do have a full electric band, and we enjoy playing out live with the full band and a little more energy. And with our originals, we're an original band. So here in this context, we do a few originals, but we like to give nods to some of our favorite artists. Absolutely. And learn new covers, and a lot at your suggestions. So your suggestions, and
we might not always match them up to the person that requested them.
No, usually not, because we're not that organized. Yeah, we're not that organized. But keep bringing us those requests, because at the very least, we have discovered some music that we very much enjoy. So yeah, thank you for that, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.